Hello and welcome to Talk a Good Game, and it's a preview of Manchester City against West Ham United. And it might be a bit of a negative preview, but you just never know. And my two guests might be a bit optimistic. Gonzo, let's start with yourself as always. What's your thoughts on title chasing Man City?
Wonderful, brilliant, possibly one of the best teams we've seen in the Premier League era. Possibly second at the moment. It looks only to Arsene Wenger's Undefeatables or whatever they were called. Or is that the Stallone film? I don't know. Whatever it is, they're very, very good, and I'm looking forward to seeing them play at the weekend.
I think Invincibles is the word you're looking for.
What was that, the film, or was that Wenger's team?
That's the team.
What's the film?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Anyway. Charlie, what about yourself? What's your thoughts on Pep Guardiola's side?
The weekend showed they're not quite invincible. I think there's definitely holes there, and they're a hell of a lot better going forward than they are defending. But the problem is they're so good going forward, and they blast you away so strongly and can pin you back so well that it almost doesn't matter. I think they've been quite lucky this season. They have one left back. He got injured, and all of a sudden Fabian Delph turned into the greatest left back anyone has ever seen. That was going to happen. So in a way, they're a bit lucky, but let's be honest about it. They're probably the best team in the league, one of the best teams in Europe right now. And fun might not be the word I'd use to watch them at the weekend, but there we go.
I think the fact that they've sort of scraped through their last two games to late goal shows just why they are a really good side, actually. Even when they come stuck, they've still got enough talent in that squad. They've still got enough belief and determination to go and get that. And what impresses me most about this City team is they don't stop at one, they don't stop at two, they'll just keep going until the final whistle goes. And that's not a good thing for us on Sunday. That's what makes me scared for Sunday. Gonzo, you said there you touched on the fact that they're unbeaten all season. They are indeed. They're unbeaten all season. They've drawn just 2 games in 90 minutes. One of them was in the cup against Wolves, which they went on to win in penalties. But if you want to keep up to date with all the stats on Manchester City and West Ham and anything else that's in the Premier League, do download the One Football app. The link is in the description. Keep up to date with all previews for this one, because there's a late fitness test for Winston Reid, so the news will be on that app as well. But Gonzo, what do they have to do to sort of become the best Premier League team of all that we've seen in this season?
Well, they've just got to carry on the way they're going. Charlie made a good point about Fabian Delph there, because he's an innovator. He's a very, very modern coach, and he did the same with Philipp Lahm at Bayern Munich. And Philipp Lahm had been a fullback all his life, and he turned him into a central midfielder to great effect. So he seems to be able to get players playing in different positions, which is really good. In fact, you see that little clip where he was Nathan Redmond was walking off the pitch. And obviously they'd just played against Southampton. He was telling Nathan Redmond how he should be playing, where he should play, and what he should normally do. So, that's quite interesting. It shows quite how much of an innovator he is. Having said that, if he did that against us, can you imagine how long it would take him if he started to go through? He'd have to go through our whole team, wouldn't he? Telling them where they should play and what they should do. It'd be a nightmare. He'd be there for hours and hours on end. But what have they got to do to be like Arsene Wenger's Undateables or whatever? They've just got to carry on going towards the end of the season, totally undefeated, but they look good. De Bruyne, David Silva just signed a new contract. Raheem Sterling's turned into a match winner, and they don't even seem to need Aguero scoring anymore to win games, which they previously perhaps did under Mancini and Pellegrini.
Well, you call Pep an innovator through Delph, but no one called Bilic an innovator through Antonio.
They called him something else, didn't they?
Yeah, he got called plenty other words, but not an innovator. Charlie, if you could pick a Man City player that you most admire or you most fear for Sunday, who would it be?
De Bruyne. De Bruyne, he's like... City have been sort of aging for a while, and you can still see the effects of that with people like Fernandinho and Yaya Toure, Vince Company, people like that. And David Silva, I've been consistently thinking, he's going to get to the end now. He's going to get to the end now, and he just hasn't. But De Bruyne is somehow even eclipsed even that. Like David De Silva was like one of the best creative attacking midfielder sort of things in the Premier League that during the last, say, 5 years or something. And De Bruyne seems a step above even him. That dude can find a through ball pass that splits the defense from anywhere on the pitch at any single moment. He's just a brilliant world-class player, and he is going to have an absolute field day.
One thing that'll be interesting to look out for Fernandinho, as well as Sane, but more important, Fernandinho is on 4 yellow cards. And after West Ham United, they play Manchester United. So it might be interesting to see if he starts against us. But it's okay because they've got likes of Gundogan or Yaya Toure to bring in. So they're not exactly short in talent. But let's move on to West Ham. There's at least one forced change, which is our goalkeeper. Joe Hart is obviously ineligible against his parent club due to the fact he's on loan. So there'll be a change in goal. Winston Reid faces a late fitness test after he went off injured against Everton. No Andy Carroll and no Javier Hernandez for Sunday. Gonzo, what formation would you play? Let's start with that. Let's not what Moyes would do, because I think we all know Moyes is probably going to go 4-3-3. But what formation would you do going into this one? The worrying thing is we don't have many players. It's not just who do we play. It's who, we've only got about 14 players.
You know, it's that old one where are you going to place the chairs on the Titanic just before it goes down? It doesn't really matter how you rearrange them. It's going to hit an iceberg and go down. So normally I would do something different to what the managers do, because I like adventurous football, and a lot of these managers, bit Moyes or Bilic, they like one up and perhaps set up a little bit defensively. And normally, as you know, I would say, well, what would Bilic do, what Moyes do, and what would I do? And I would do something more attacking. I probably would, and I'm not a great one for going for the draw. I think it's the only thing we can do. I don't even think you can realistically say, you know what, if we attack them and go for it, we've got a chance. When we get to the Arsenal game, I might say it. I might think that, because I think they're susceptible. I just don't think you can leave any gaps in your defence at all. And everything Charlie was saying about De Bruyne, it was just getting more and more depressing the more he was saying it, because he can sort of slice holes in any defence. I just think we've got what shape, I don't know, but I think we've got to play a lot of defenders, and with one up top with Sacco running around. And I think certainly I don't know if you're dealing with it another part of the show, but certainly a draft Mark Noble in. Is he the answer to all our problems? No, but he'll probably do a lot better than Obiang and Kiete did.
Charlie, what about yourself? Do you have a formation in mind you'd play for this one? Or do you agree with Gonzo in sort of 5-5-0?
Close, 5-3-2, basically. Like, the problem is even if we do start really defensively, all of our defenders are playing terribly and half of them are injured anyway. So I'm thinking we draft Kiate at the back. I'm thinking we put Rice in there for Kiate for the pace, even though he's got no positioning and is going to lose his man 5 times out of 5. But he's going to be there. I think you bring in Rice because he's actually going to give it his all. There's going to be no surrender in that. You know, that's the one thing you can say about him. He might make a mistake here and there, but he's not going to give up. I think something like that. We set up very, very deep and then just try and play on the counter-attack with people like Ayew and Sacco up front. It's the only chance we're going to get of really getting a goal. I don't think we're going to be able to pass it, some slick, lovely passing maneuver around them. I think it's just going to be big pump, long balls up to someone quick who can get in behind their incredibly high press.
I think you've been copying the team I'd like to see, Charlie. Gonzo, Zabaleta, he's obviously going to get a standing ovation, legend at City. But very quickly, teams have found out if you kick it past him, you're past him. You can get the ball behind him. He just can't keep up with anyone. I think I'd maybe wager Charlie to beat him in a race, and I've seen Charlie run. It's not very good. It's such a point that I thought he was on rewind. But Gonzo, what do you do with Zabaleta? Do you keep him right back and have him as sort of a sitting duck? I mean, Pep knows all about him. Pep's got Sané, or do you move him?
Well, I think you probably move. I think his experience is probably quite good. I mean, maybe if you were to play 3 at the back, you put him at the right side of 3 centre-backs or something. I've heard people suggest him maybe playing defensive midfield. I think one of our biggest problems in midfield, we're lacking legs, so I wouldn't do that. That's for sure, not from my point of view anyway. What do we do with him? I don't know. We're not blessed with choice. It's not like we can even bring Byram in and play Byram at right back. Well, I actually do think, looking at what Moyes had done with Baines and Seamus Coleman, I think he had another geezer, Oviedo possibly was his name at Everton, and he seems to like an attacking winger. I think he might quite like Byram when he gets to use him, but unfortunately he's not ready. So right back Zabaleta it is, unfortunately. Well, I think we've got a Fabian Delph to pluck out of the squad and play there and turn him into cat food. I don't think that's going to happen. So I don't know what we're going to do with him. This is quite a ridiculous. We can't be accused of being arrogant on this preview. Certainly, we're all a bit concerned about what's going to happen. I do think Antonio. One thing I would do is say something positive. I do think Antonio is going to be a big plus for Moyes. I think we're talking about counter-attack and talking about pace. I think Antonio would be pivotal if we're looking to do that. So finding the correct position for him is going to be quite important.
Gonzo, just lastly for yourself on team selection then. Arnautovic, Ayew, they're not known as hard workers. Would you be playing them, or would you keep Creswell and Masuaku on one side and Antonio and Zabaleta on the other sort of thing, and just hoping they can keep it tight?
I think so. I'm certainly not an Arnautovic, just because he does. We were warned he was inconsistent. Well, it seems to be the case. So we just can't afford it. He's not particularly mobile. He's not a particularly hard worker. Ayew, I do think he's the only one on Lanzini's wavelength. When Lanzini's looking to pass and move and play triangles, there's only one person there that seems to be able to do that, which is shows a real imbalance in the squad, which needs to be addressed. But we're not going to address it before Sunday. So I would probably, if you could find a place for Ayew in there, then I would leave him in, but not because he's got pace for a counter-attack, so as Lanzini says, we can retain the ball. Otherwise, if we don't retain the ball, you are going to be seeing some nasty stats with them having 75 possession and us having, how am I working it out, 25? Anyway, you know what I mean? It's going to be pretty nasty, and you can't give a team like that untold possession and not expect a lot of pressure and a lot of goals. So yeah, counter attack is quick. Masuaku and Antonio, as you say.
Look, Charlie, listen to my team because you were quite similar, so you can tell me what you would change. I'd be going 5-3-2 for this one as well, and my centre back sort of picked themselves, Rice, Ogbonna and Kiate. You've got to have legs in there, like Charlie said. City like to play it in behind you, and if your right back or right wing back gets caught by Sané's pace, you need your right centre back to be sharp to get over there. And if it is Zabaleta, your right centre back is supposed to cover your right wing back, and I'm not sure you've got a even slower right centre back that's going to do any good if you can't get out to cover him. So for me, right wing back, Fernandes. I think he's done well. I think he's played well. I think he deserves a chance. I think when we're low in numbers, he comes in. Masuaku on the left purely because of pace, purely because he's got to get forward. And then in midfield, I'd have Noble, Lanzini and Zabaleta. I would have Zabaleta in there. City are expecting him to be on the right back. They will. Sané will be licking his lips. So get him out of there and put him in the defensive mid. Like you said, he doesn't have legs, so he doesn't leave the middle. He doesn't leave our half, if anything. He just sits in front of our defence. Do not move forward. Let Lanzini do the running, and you sit in there. Then up front, I'd have Sacco and Antonio. Like Charlie said, it's going to be punting it. But the difference to our long ball compared to other teams, I seen Huddersfield scare Man City the other day. They scared them. Every time Huddersfield went forward, they looked dangerous. One, they exposed Delph. Every time, all their attacks kept going down the right-hand side because Delph was hesitant. He wasn't quite sure what to do. He wasn't sure when to go forward, stay back. So they picked on him. Two, when they got the ball, they launched it. While City were on the attack, they launched it. So City only had three back and they were running up the field. What West Ham do is they pass it about at the back and then they hoof it. But by the time they hoof it, the other team's defensively organised. They've got two banks of four. They're waiting for it. You can't do that. That's why I want to see Sacco and Antonio. As soon as you get the ball, you launch it. You play it out wide into the channels and get these two to start stretching that City defence. Because their centre-backs, as much as world-class as that City team are, I'm not sure you'd consider their centre-backs to be world-class. The full-backs maybe, not their centre-backs. But Charlie, is there anything you would change from that? Anything you would argue with me?
No, not particularly, actually. I was thinking maybe a banter pick of putting Antonio at right wing-back for the pace, but just to get, as you say, to expose Delph, because if there's one person who's going to dribble past him, it'll be him. Like, he will just get it and dribble at him with no forward thinking and planning of what the hell he's going to do once he's past him. But he'll do it anyway. But once you said Fernandes, that actually makes way more sense. I'd put him there, and I think that playing Antonio up front might, if he's playing as a sort of right of the two up front, he might be able to get in and expose, because their fullbacks do push incredibly high up the pitch. They're almost midfielders by the time they get so far up the pitch. And so if we want people to maybe drag out wide and link up with wing backs, if it is Fernandes, then Antonio would be the right pick to do that. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's enough for the team talk. Gonzo, they've won every game bar two this season. We're on a horrendous form, just got smashed by Everton. Do you have any optimism in your body at all?
No, it's gone. It's all evaporated in the other games. I've realised a lot of it is false optimism, and at some point you've got you've got to, well, it's like people can do what they want, but for me, at some point, you've got to stop blind optimism and you actually got to look for some evidence. And unfortunately for this one, as I say, it might be different when we play Arsenal because they got weaknesses, but for this one, I just can't see any evidence in the long-term history or recent history to suggest that we will do anything in this game at all.
Charlie?
No. I mean, the thing is they do have weaknesses, but I just don't think that we as a team are good enough to A, figure out what they are, B, expose them, and C, use that to any sort of significant effect. I think that the hope we've got is maybe another Andre Ayew screamer or something along those lines to get a draw, but I'm not exactly optimistic.
No, I mean, to be fair, for me, I'm not optimistic either. You need to beat this team. You're not going to beat them with toe-to-toe. So you need either great tactics, not very confident we've got that at all. This guy just got tactically outsmarted by David Unsworth. You need attitude. Going by Everton, I'm not seeing it. Leicester maybe, but Everton, none of it's there. And you need a bit of luck. Well, we ain't getting any of that just now, are we? There's nothing going for us. But the only thing that gives me the slightest bit of optimism, and I mean, the teensy bit of getting a draw, there's no pressure on us. This last few games has been so much pressure on us. We went to Everton as the favourites. They didn't have pressure that night. Unsworth, that was probably Unsworth's last game, and there was no pressure on him. Allardyce was appointed. That was it. The pressure was off David Unsworth. There was nothing for him to lose anymore. He didn't have a job. Well, he has a job. He's no longer a manager. And we saw that. And I wonder if us not having the pressure on Sunday might help us a little bit. But say a little bit, it might keep it below 3. To sum it up, the bookies have got us priced up at 28-1 to win, just any score. It's the same price for Man City to win 6-0. The bookies think there's as much chance of Man City winning 6-0 as there is us winning the game, just any score. I mean, that's how shocking this is. But anyway, score prediction time. Charlie, would you like to go first?
No. Let's say 6-1. Mate, it's going to be a bang, and it's going to be the bang. It's going to be a halfway line goal. It's going to be Rooney-esque. It's going to be a madness. But we're gonna score somehow. We're going to score first, and then they're going to get 6 in like 6 minutes or something stupid. 6-1. Why not?
God.
Well, I'd probably take 2-0. Right, I don't think it's going to be that, but I would take 2-0 just to stop us being so humiliated. Because the trouble is, you're meant to have a bit of a lift and a bounce when a new manager comes in. It could be after Man City that we're actually more depressed than we were on Slav's final day in terms of the squad. So I do think if we do get dumped 6-1 or something like that, I think he will put on a tactical masterclass, David Moyes. He'll combine all of our suggestions. They'll all go in together. And we will lose 3-0 and we will feel like we've got away with it and feel that there's something to take forward. And we'll be listening to him in the press conference saying, well, I think there were some positives to take from today.
Gonzo, right now, would you take a 2-0 defeat?
Right? I would take a 2-0 defeat, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, Christ. I'm going to say 4-0. I've just got no optimism whatsoever. Let us know what you think the score would be. I think we've got an aggregate of something like 13-1 here between us. This is not good. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. We'll be back on Sunday after the game with our review. We've got plenty of videos coming up for you. Just like City, I've probably got plenty of goals coming up for you as well. But anyway, thank you for joining us.